Hello, Jeff Zwarenk. Welcome back to Give and Take, the segment of our show where we explore important scientific ideas and how they relate to the truth of Christianity. Today, I'm joined by Ken Samples, and we're going to discuss the importance of learning about others' faith so that we can talk with them well. Ken, it's good to have you here today.
Good to be with you, Jeff.
So, Ken, I know you have a friend who's written a book that you really like when talking about other faiths. What's the name of the book? How do you know this fellow? And just kind of give us a little bit of insight into the book.
Yeah, the title of the book is Neighboring Faiths, and it's written by Winfried Corzian. He was a professor for 30 years teaching philosophy, world religions. In fact, one of the very cool things, Jeff, he would take students overseas to actually, talk with Buddhists and Hindus. I think that this book by Win Corzian is the very best Christian book addressing the world's religions. And I have dozens of those types of books on my bookshelf. This would be my number one on that topic.
So give us a little bit of just an overview of the different religions that he talks about in the book, and then we'll kind of talk about what do we do with that information.
Yeah, Corzian covers the waterfront. He not only addresses Judaism and Islam, Buddhism and Hinduism, but he addresses Jainism, Sikhism, Shintoism, Taoism, Confucianism, and a special section he has on both the Native African and Native American religions. And I would add, Jeff, he has 2 chapters on Islam. One is their beliefs and all of those kinds of things. The second one is Islam in light of 9/11. So the political backdrop of that issue, which is worth the price of the book itself.
So it seems like it's a pretty exhaustive and extensive book that you'll be very well equipped by reading it. So let me ask this question. Why is it important for us to understand other religions? Isn't it more important that we just know what Christianity has to say?
Well, I think it's awfully important to know what Christianity has to say. But let me put it this way, Jeff. 50 years ago, if I wanted to talk with a Buddhist or a Hindu or a Confucianist, if I wanted to engage in a debate, I'd probably have to go overseas. All of that is completely changed. The internet has changed it. People have moved to America. So it's common in particularly America's urban centers. I mean, Los Angeles, it's one of the most diverse places, not only in the country, but in the world. You may have kids on your soccer team and they're a Buddhist family or Hindu family. And I think because there is that kind of religious diversity, the projection is, Jeff, in the year 2050, there'll be 9 billion people living on planet Earth, 3 billion Christian, 3 billion Muslim, and 3 billion other, both religious and secular. Everywhere you go, you meet people who have different ideas, and we still live in a religious world.
That's an interesting take on it, because I just remember back to when I was in college, about 30 years ago, and witnessing really amounted to, hey, do you know what the Bible has to say? Most people had a pretty good knowledge of what the Bible had to say. You were really kind of laying out the message of the Bible, if you will, but most people knew what the Bible had to say and had a trust for it. And it seems like we've now moved to a place where very few people know what the Bible even has to say, and increasingly there's no trust of it. So it seems to kind of mirror that if we're going to be able to engage people well, we need to be better prepared ourselves. So how does this book help prepare you?
I think it does a really good job. Number one, Wynn is a Christian apologist, so he is committed to the truth of Christianity. But Jeff, he treats the religions the way he wants other people to treat his religion. But what I mean by that is what we talk about, the golden rule of apologetics. Wynn doesn't beat up on the religion. He tries to present them as clear and careful. I think he's even empathetic. He even recognizes that, look, people are coming from different points of view. They have different needs and different ideas. But I also think he does a very good job of showing the contrast between the Christian view of God versus the Islamic view of God versus the Hindu view of God. And I think that adds to that earlier question you asked. I certainly it's important to know what you believe and why you believe it. But if you understand basic ideas about the other religions, maybe they're key books, maybe they're key doctrines, that puts you in a position where I think you can be much more persuasive in sharing your faith.
You know, your discussion about the golden rule is kind of interesting because I'm not even entirely sure how many people would identify that as being scripturally based, to treat others the way you want to be treated. But I found that very important. It also seems to me there's an aspect of this that understanding different worldviews is important because you can be arguing about the same set of facts, but just interpreting them in very different ways. Does this book help you understand how to engage in dialogue in that fashion?
It really does. I mean, it talks about the basic worldview perspective. So a worldview would be your kind of big picture view of reality, your view of God, your view of the universe, view of ethics. I think having that big picture is very helpful. Wynne does a great job of doing that and explaining the distinctive elements. I mean, for example, in Hinduism, Jeff, you've got multiple beliefs. I mean, some Hindus believe in 330 million gods. Some believe the universe is God. And most, by the way, believe there's one God. So knowing those kind of things, and Wynne does a good job of setting them forth, I think that puts you in a position where you're confident to say, hey, I can have an honest discussion with somebody who comes from a very different point of view, philosophically speaking.
So as I know you've read through this book probably multiple times. What is the one thing that you've learned or that you find most engaging about having read the book Neighboring Faiths by Wynne Corgen?
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in it. I think that the thing that impresses me the most, Jeff, is that again, Corgen doesn't create a straw man argument. He doesn't go out of his way to try to get you, I got you on this point. He respects where people are coming from. And I think if people in other religions read Wynne Corgen's book, they would say, yeah, I recognize my faith. Yeah, that is what I believe. I think the thing that impresses me the most is that I think he is very fair-minded in getting these religions accurately and truthfully.
Well, thanks very much, Ken. I appreciate your comments. As Ken mentioned, that doing missionary work used to mean traveling across the world to find other cultures, but now those cultures are right where we live. And if we're going to engage with them well and be able to bring the gospel into those conversations in a way that people can hear, we're going to need to understand them. I would encourage you to go to reasons.org and check out Ken's blog on this. It's called Neighboring Faiths, a review of Winfred Corgen's timeless book. It will help you understand what's in the book and also encourage you to get the book so that you can be well prepared to have those conversations that God will inevitably bring across your path.